Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we sift through the corporate paperwork so you don't have to. Today we're cracking open Mativ Holden's latest proxy statement, and let me tell you, it's got more twists than a bag of pretzels. We're talking director elections, executive pay, and a whole lot of corporate governance. Prepare for a wild ride. Mativ, if you don't know, makes specialty materials. Think filtration stuff, adhesive solutions, things like that. Their proxy statement basically tells stockholders how to vote on important company matters. So what's the buzz in this particular document? We're seeing a director up for election, a vote on executive pay, and a few other interesting proposals that could shape Mativ's future. It's all about who's in charge and how they're getting paid. First up, the basics. This document is filed by Mativ themselves, so it's their official word. We're looking at their definitive proxy statement, meaning they've already gone through the preliminary stages. The company's inviting stockholders to their annual meeting on April 30, 2025. The chairwoman, Kimberly Retrieve, urges everyone to vote because, every share counts. The first big item is electing directors. Specifically, Kimberly Retrieve is up for re-election as a Class 3 director. If elected, she'll serve until the 2028 annual meeting. The board nominates directors based on recommendations from the Nominating and Governance Committee. They look for candidates with integrity, relevant experience, and the skills to boost the board's effectiveness. Basically, they want people who know what they're doing and will help the company succeed. The review process assesses things like judgment, expertise, and understanding of the business. They want directors who are committed and available to actually participate. It also specifically states they will look for diverse candidates. Now, the proxy statement has a handy chart summarizing the skills and experience of each director. It highlights things like CEO experience, board experience, strategic leadership, and financial expertise. They also mention the racial diversity of the board and gender diversity as attributes. All right, let's get to the juicy part, executive compensation. This section explains how Mativ pays its top executives. The goal is to reward actions that build long-term performance while also hitting short-term targets. For 2024, the top dogs were Julie Chattel, former CEO, Greg Weitzel, the CFO, Mark Johnson, Chief Legal Officer, Michael Rickheim, Chief Human Resources Officer, and Ryan Elwood, Group President of Sustainable and Adhesive Solutions. Last year, stockholders overwhelmingly approved the executive compensation program with around 97% voting in favor. So generally, investors feel these executives are compensated fairly. They do focus on performance-based pay and have compensation risk assessment. They don't do things like change in control tax gross-ups or allow hedging or pledging of company stock. The main components of executive pay are base salary, short-term incentives, and long-term incentives in the form of restricted stock units or PSUs that vest based on how well the company performs. The targets for 2024 were EBITDA delivered, revenue, and the safety scorecard. Turns out company performance did not quite hit the initial targets. As you can see that Julie Chattel, who had a target bonus of 1.1 M, only received 600K. The target bonus for the executive was 59%. The company mentions that 2024 PSUs had performance-based awards based on free cash flow as a percent of net sales, return on invested capital. They also note that performance goals were established annually, so they may change in the future. One thing I found was, to quote here, cash settlement of some older awards. In plain English, it seems like they decided to give cash to people for some shares to preserve their own shares in hand. So they just gave cash value instead of actual stock options. Here's where things get interesting. As previously announced, Ms. Chattel stepped down as CEO on March 11th, 2025. Shruti Singhal took over as the new president and chief executive officer. Singhal will get paid $110,000 every month and will also receive a one-time payment of equity worth $2.1 million, which will vest in 1 year. Also, the company has a clawback policy. This means the company can take back incentive compensation from executives if there's an accounting restatement. Executives must return incentive-based compensation if their performance is restated or adjusted to reduce compensation. Let's dive into the numbers. This table lays out the compensation for the named executive officers over the past few years. We can see that Ms. Chattel received $975,000 in salary and stock awards worth of 222M. In 2023, her salary was $925,000. She also got 61K under the non-equity incentive plan. In 2023, it was $425K. For the Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Weitzel, for 2024, he received salary of $475K, stock awards of $405K, and bonus of $196K. This table gives you an overview of the unexercised stock options and unvested stock awards. There are a lot of different types of stock options and the value will depend on company performance. Looking at how this company has managed their summary compensation table shows that in 2024, the total return of the shareholder was $33.10 for a $100 value. Also, the peer group return was $164, significantly higher. In total tax fees, the company paid out $1.6 million in 2024 compared to $2.4 million in 2023. This means they have decreased these costs to be more efficient. Deloitte & Toussell have served as their accounting firm, and this Proxy is asking to ratify their continued service. The audit committee wants to ratify the vote and has also reviewed all communications required by the SEC. The audit committee also reviewed the scope of audits and also discussed with management. The Proxy is asking stockholders to make the advisory resolution relating to the compensation of the named executive officers. This is a non-binding advisory vote, and the company expects to take into account the outcome of the vote when considering future executive compensation decisions. Finally, there's a proposal to approve an amendment to the company's equity and incentive plan. This would increase the total number of shares available for issuance by 2,300,000. The company says this is important to attract, motivate, and retain talented employees. If approved, the total available shares would be 2,363,614. Management believes this is needed to retain the talented people in the long term who contribute to the company's success. As of December 31, 2024, there were approximately 1 million securities to be issued upon exercise. In the Mativ Holdings Inc. 2024, there are 1.8 M securities to be issued. So after dissecting this proxy statement, what's the story? Mativ is asking stockholders to make some key decisions. Electing a director is the most important one, since it approves whether an executive will be active in their company. They're asking to ratify their independent accounting firm, to provide incentive to the company's executives, and to approve the Mativ Holdings plan. Now, looking at these filings, there are some concerning things. The total return to shareholders was considerably lower than the peer group, and the value of the shares have decreased. Hopefully the new executives can help the company. Thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, remember to subscribe, like, and comment below.